Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Cred.15 at 8:15. My name is Ronan MacDonald. I will be one of your co-hosts today with the wonderful Kendra Strudwick. Our intention in Cred.15 is to create a space to help you navigate this time, to stay connected, and to build strong habits. Our hope is that you finish this 15 minutes feeling more calm, focused, and a bit more positive. For those of you joining us for the first time, we extend a really warm welcome to you, wherever you are in the world. For those of you who are returning to the Cred.15, welcome back. We hope you have a wonderful day ahead. A little bit of housekeeping first. If you are familiar with Zoom, we want to make this as interactive as possible. So we will do some reflective exercises and invite you to chat. Enter your response in the chat box. For those of you who are following on Facebook Live, please feel free just to shout out your answers into the space or take a note and write them down. So it's my absolute pleasure to hand over to Kendra Strudwick to do our arrival exercise today. Thank you, Kendra.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a brand new week. Let's start with a short mindfulness activity called Arrive. Breathe. Breathe again. Smile. Relax. And arrive. Where you are, be natural and open to effortlessness, to being. Rather than doing, drop everything, let go, and arrive. So welcome to the here and now. Let's move on to our how are we feeling exercise. This is an emotional labeling exercise. Gives you a few moments to check in with yourself and feel into the sensations that are present for you right here, right now, and to label them, name them. So it could be a combination of emotions. You might have a clear front runner. Whatever that experience is that's present for you right here, right now, just notice it. Perhaps you like to label it with a colour. Perhaps you like to label it with language. Whatever it is, I want you to name it. And if you feel comfortable to and you're able to, type how you're feeling in the chat box. It's a little bit like the weather report. What's the weather that's there for me today? Just name it. Thanks, Dave. Dave's feeling relaxed. I'm feeling quite calm and relaxed, and I notice I do have an undercurrent of sadness today. Calm and grateful for Ronan. So we're not engaging with the emotion as to why we feel that. We are just naming it. It has a dampening effect on your limbic brain, your emotional brain. Relaxed and excited. Thanks, Katerina. So remember, folks, you can take time to do this activity and check in with yourself a few times throughout the day. And as you do, helps you maximize your mental resources and regain focus. Bit of a reboot for your brain. So let's move on to our focus for today and the Cred.15 3 areas. Ronan, would you like to speak to those?
Thank you, Kendra. So for those of you who are unfamiliar with our 3 pillars, we invite people to choose their focus for the session or for your day ahead, to make some time to move every day, and to concentrate on making a connection with other people when we can't physically connect at this time. So the area of focus where we invite you to choose your focus. Is it planning for the day? Is it prioritizing? Is it reflecting? Is it preflecting, where we try and learn from what we've done so we can use that going forward? Or do we need to be in the detail today? I'm going to spend a bit of a deep dive in there today in a bit of a Q&A type scenario. We've had some questions on Facebook over the weekend, so I'm going to invite Kendra to respond to these questions. Kendra, we were asked by Kieran, how do people create space in their working days?
Yeah, creating space, the first thing that comes to mind is boundaries. If we don't have any, you'll find that you don't have any space. What do I mean by boundaries? I think sometimes we need to be a little bit protective around our focus time. And so each of us might have a different rhythm as to when we feel most focused, when we're able to do our best work. And I would say notice that and then protect that time. Allow yourself that time to be yours to get whatever you most need to achieve that day done. So that concept of prioritizing. If we don't prioritize and choose a focus for the day, then the day unfolds and we allow things to come in and take up that space. So choose what your key focus is, what you most need to set as a priority, and then pair that with the time of the day where you do your best thinking or you do your best work. Because if you don't do that, you'll find that you're trying to achieve your priority when there magically appears to be a gap and everyone else has stopped distracting you, which may be 3 o'clock in the afternoon when your brain's too fatigued and you're like, I need to tap out. So choose your focus, know your energy levels, know when you're at your best, and pair that activity to be done at that particular time. That would be my biggest tip. The other tip I have for you is to check in with yourself. So years ago, I learned a time management system called 18 minutes because so many of the systems today are complex. And I thought, well, 18 minutes, I can do 18 minutes. And the 18 minutes is just comprised over 3 steps. So spend 5 minutes in the morning to plan your day and do exactly what I've just said. Set a clear priority and know when you're going to do that. Then for 1 minute every hour, check in with yourself. Am I doing what I most need to be doing now? Am I following my plan? Who do I want to be right now? Even check in with how you're feeling. Like 1 minute every hour allows you to refocus if you need to, versus let 4 hours go through and, oh, hang on, what happened to my day? And then the final 5 minutes is at the end of the day. How did I go? What were my successes? What did I learn today about how I managed myself and how I managed my time? And what do I need to carry forward tomorrow? So 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, and 1 minute every hour in between. That would be my simple methodology to create more space.
Thank you, Kendra. That sounds wonderful. And I think a lot of people will benefit from that for themselves, but also for the teams they support as well, which is a nice segue into our second question. We got another question from Kieran who asked, my teams are struggling with back-to-back meetings. Any advice?
Yes. All of the Zoom meetings, that extroverts love, but do we need to have a meeting for that, or could we handle that in a Google document or via email instead? So get clear on the purposes of the meeting. Who needs to be there? Am I inviting everybody for the sake of inviting everyone? Or can I be a bit purposeful and make some of those invitations optional and allow people to choose whether that's the best use of their time? In Google Calendar, and I'm only sharing what I'm familiar with, there's a function called Speedy Meetings. And if you click that on, what it does is it reduces the time of your meetings. So a half an hour meeting becomes a 25-minute meeting, and a 60-minute meeting becomes a 50-minute meeting. What I've learned over the years is that Parkinson's law, is alive and well. Parkinson's law means the time expands to fit the time we give it. If we set a 60-minute aside to scope out a solution for a client, we'll take 60 minutes. Could we challenge ourselves to get that done in 45 minutes? So the tighter the time frame, the more prepared people have to turn up to the meeting, perhaps even having done some thinking prior. But play with reducing the time, because in reality, your brain can only focus for about half an hour. So people are switching off anyway, and then they're just connecting and faffing about. So play with the timing of your meetings, and why not use speeding meetings, finish 50 minutes, and allow yourself time to refresh and show up on time for the next meeting. Because if you're always going back to back, then you're always behind the 8 ball or chasing the day and feeling like you're not productive. So that would be my tip for meeting overload.
Thank you, Kendra. It's really appreciated again. So for everybody who's on our webinar today, we'd like to invite you now to just spend some time in reflection to help you understand, where do you need to choose your focus for today? So we'll give about 30 seconds of silence. And if you'd like to, we'll invite you to type your responses in the chat box. Thank you, Kendra. Focus around planning and designing today. Project governance in a COVID-19 world. Yeah, Dave, I understand that. Speed and quality. Okay. Thank you, Katharina. Our second focus area is the area of movement, where we encourage you to be physically active for 15 minutes every day. So we always encourage you to be creative in this space. So I'd like to invite you to think about, what could you do today to be physically active? And when are you going to do it? So let's spend a little bit of time, as Kendra says, double clicking into this to understand, let's make some time. When is it realistic for us to do our movement today? And if you'd like to share, please do in the chat box. Take the dog for a walk after dinner tonight. Thanks, Kendra. I've seen some people have already been active. I caught the last 5 minutes of our family yoga in the living room this morning before we started. Didn't quite make the full 20, but I acknowledge myself as opposed to beating myself up. 30 minutes workout in the afternoon, run at lunch, swam earlier. Nice work, Dave. Thanks, Katharina. Our final pillar is connect. And we talked earlier about the importance more than now of social connection. So my request or challenge to you all today is, could we create a group of some people we know through WhatsApp or a text message group to support them, to motivate them, to check in with them, and to hold them a little bit accountable for doing these things as well? If we're already in a group, maybe we could invite someone who's not in a group, who may be just on their own, feeling a bit disconnected. I was recently at a sports physio, and I was walking past the sports physio's office, and I saw a sign which read, "You'll never know when you prevented an injury." None of us are ever going to ring up a physio and say, "Hey, I just didn't have that injury that you gave me all that preventive techniques for." So you'll never know the impact you might make in someone else's life at this time. So I'd like you to reflect in a couple of seconds to see, is there something you could do today or this week? and it's just come up to 8:30. Thank you for joining us on the Cred.15 at 8:15. We will be back here this evening at 5:15 p.m. Sydney time. And I decided to extend warm gratitude to Kendra for co-hosting today and for those wonderful examples and tips and tools you shared with everybody. Thank you, Kendra.
Pleasure. See you tonight, folks.